Welcome to Bowling for Dollars. Just kidding. Today we're going to go through taking a look back at issue number 114. This is the 20th anniversary issue. Anyway, hope you like these special videos. This one is going to be, when you see the drummer for Lust Control right there, look at that. Man, that dude is awesome. Anyway, I hope you like these videos. So, we had the band P.O.D. actually do a special photo shoot and pose with the photographer, got the birthday cake made and decorated, and the band, they went to a special, I think it was an Italian restaurant they went to in San Diego. I'm guessing, as I recall, that's where they went. And this was the thickest issue ever of the magazine. Most of them, this is the 25th anniversary issue, which might be my favorite between these two, but this one is called Saddle Stitched. It's where they put staples on the spine. And this one is called Perfect Bound, like a JCPenney or a Sears Roebuck catalog, if you remember those. It is kind of glued together at the base or spine, kind of like a paperback book. Anyway, 20th anniversary issue. One of the reasons why it was so thick is because it was easy to sell ads. Like, what record company or advertiser doesn't want to be in this issue? So it was kind of an easy sell for a salesperson. The P.O.D. ad from Atlantic Records, highlighting a bunch of their albums, and they're still paying dues. DVD, did you get that DVD? It is great. Stryper did a special ad in this issue, and they requested that I give them the artwork for the very first issue of Heaven's Metal magazine, which had only 3 photographs in it, and they were all photos of Stryper. And so this is the very first issue. This logo that I hand drew, for me the inspiration was the Randy Rhoads Jackson Flying V guitar. I put those polka dots on the letters, and I created the letters to have kind of a custom shape, like the A's and the V's were like flying V's of a guitar. And anyway, there's Stryper on their first tour outside of California. They played Austin at the Austin Opera House, and it was fantastic. The Extreme Tour, Ted Braun put these on, and man, they used to take bands and go all over the United States and have a ton of bands play, and it was kind of a ministry-focused tour. And anyway, so they were advertising their Reborn album, Stryper was. And Deep Music, Face Down Records, Seventh Star, the Regal line, Life in Your Way. Pretty cool. Tooth and Nail did a special congratulations ad. Tooth and Nail, when they launched their company, they did, Brandon called me up. I had met him before when he worked at Frontline Records. When he launched Tooth and Nail, he goes, hey, if I buy like 5 consecutive right-hand pages of advertisements, will you give me the 6th page free? And I was like, sure. And so they were black and white at the time, but they're all in the right-hand page. So you turn the page, boom, you see another one. Boom, you see another one. And they've advertised in every issue of HM magazine ever since. That first issue was issue number 45 with Baron Cross on the cover, I believe. And Heaven's Metal HM stayed in print until issue number 150, and then we went all digital for a while. So they were in every issue of the magazine since then. Here's another Derek Hess illustration, the Stress Tour, with Derek Hess's last name as part of the Stress, this spelled Stress with an H. And Zayo was on there with Bleeding Through and Darkest Hour, Misery Signals, and Fight Paris. Love Jesus, love music, love free swag, obedienczone.com. Still Remains. They were such an incredible band. They were on Roadrunner. I don't know if you ever got a chance to see them live. Twin guitars, kind of a very cool melodic kind of a power metal thing, but very progressive for their time. And they were really cool. MXPX, the Panic on this, remember they were on Side One Dummy Records for a short time. And there's Pillar. Pillar was very, very successful, and Flicker Records had Staple, Kids in the Way, and Sub 7 on this ad. Disciple, I remember this album was an incredible breakthrough for the band, where their first EP kind of sounded like Rage Against the Machine. It was just off the charts, really good, and they kind of found their own sound and their own style that was very, very cutting edge and timely when they released this album. The self-titled album had the song Rise Up on it, and man, love that album. And here's when they added a bass player, where Tim and Brad and Kevin added this guy to play with them, and free up Kevin to just have the microphone. Here's a Zondervan Bible ad in the magazine. See, we were expanding. Here's one of my favorites, Bradley Hathaway. We talked about him in the last video. Anyway, we've already been talking for 5 minutes. And Purple Door, we had HM Magazine had a stage there. We were an official sponsor. Just talking about ads. Here's the old subscription card, and here's P.O.D. in the restaurant holding the cake, the table of contents. One thing that was really cool about this issue, I can talk a lot about the content by just staying here, is some of the specialty articles we did, like the history of HM, talked about the different things we went through, the history of Christian rock, the history of Christian metal, the metal versus emo, which is really, really cool at the time. You know what's funny is kids today, they refer to anything like goth rock or goth as emo. Anybody with black mascara wearing all black, that's emo. For kids that know nothing about the music scene, it's crazy. I'm kind of a snob when it comes to that, I guess. And who knew I would be a snob about misusing the term emo in my old age. But Mineral, let's just go ahead and credit Mineral as being the first emo band, and right around here in this area too. But certainly not what kids call emo today. The Kingdom of Fear, a fun article. I think Tony Shore wrote that one, and he talked about how he went to go see a rock and roll minister talk about the evil of rock music and Electric Light Orchestra and some of the bands that Tony actually liked, and how that people used fear to kind of try to reach kids and whatnot. Bands on bands talking about other bands. But I think the history of Christian rock was probably written by Brian Quincy Newcomb. He was like the Lester Bangs of the Christian music industry in a way. That just had a really feisty, concise, and super intelligent way with his words. He waxed poetic really well, and he did a specialty article for this issue, which was really cool. Anyway, P.O.D. was the cover band at MXPX in here. Robert Randolph and the Family Band was, this was in 2005 when this came out. Our 25th anniversary issue was 2010, but Robert Randolph was breaking around this time and just blowing people away because he kind of came along and kind of revolutionized music as far as getting people's attention. They're part of a church-based genre called the steel pedal guitar, and it was a few Pentecostal churches in the New Jersey northeastern part of the United States area, and the music kind of came out of that church, and people that were into jam bands totally loved this music because it was very much improvisational and soloing and trick new guitar sounds. So it was great having him in here. And Disciple had a big feature article. 1,000 Foot Crutch, if you remember the last video looking back at issue 94 with Alice Cooper on the cover, 1,000 Foot Crutch was advertising in their full page color ads as an independent band. So they were actually working it hard, utilizing HM as a marketing tool to reach a wide audience before they got signed. So once they got signed, they had a built-in audience and were already had traction, and it really helped them, which is one of the things that helped P.O.D. One of the remarkable things about P.O.D. is that their debut album, Southtown, went I guess it just went gold. I don't know if it ever went platinum, but it was very successful right out of the box. And here was this band, P.O.D, who were playing Ozfest on the tails of that album release because they were that good. And how did they get that good? Well, they traveled the country in a van and a broken down motorhome for years. They were like baseball players that played in the minor leagues. Nobody knew about them. For years and years and years, they honed their craft and their skills. So once they got signed to the majors and they got brought up to Atlantic Records, boom, everybody got to hear them and go, wow, who is this, man? They're awesome. Because they are awesome. They develop their sound and everything. Some other bands that were in here, Homeless Jay, which should have been so much bigger than they were. They were a hard music band that was kind of a rock band that had a really cool sound, and the Elefante brothers produced them, and they have their single off of this album is just phenomenal. I still listen to it on my iPhone all the time. Kikil had some extremely brutal metal in here, and Kikil's kind of an interesting band, kind of like a two-man project of Indonesia. Dismas, the Agony Scene kind of flirted with the Christian music industry and the mainstream metal industry. They made it on their own. House of Heroes, Haste the Day, I think that's one of their first articles in HM, Becoming the Archetype. They were so good. I'm glad they're still kind of, at least those members are making music. Dennis and Whitmer showed kind of in Headphones, which was this amazing project that was going to involve Jason Martin of Starflyer 59, and that thing had a lot of promise. In the Rocket Summer, that dude that kind of a one-man project, not like what's the name of that band? Had the song Fireflies. Owl City. Not like Owl City in sound, but super melodic, almost Partridge Family. They did a Franco Family. Super sugary sweet melody with rock infused pop songs. The Rocket Summer, kind of a one-man show. He had a band, of course, but brilliant songwriter. Stephen Baldwin was the intermission, where he interviewed somebody that was kind of not necessarily in the music scene, and hard music history was in here. And then, of course, the music reviews, the DVD reviews, the independent pick. Let's see, I consigned this artist from California. I saw his artwork and asked if I could use it. I think I paid him for the one-time use of this. This is like a skate deck, I think, that he designed. And I thought it was really cool. I actually altered the artwork. She had like the horns going on, and even though I'm a Texas Longhorn, I put her pinky down and in Photoshop, just to because she's kind of pulling this guy out of the fires of hell, the rescuing. And there is a battle, but doesn't it really come down to a choice? And that's like, again, the back page was always used in HM to tell a story based upon a graphic and some words and text. And Piccolo Litter was so huge, we had like a plethora of artists to choose from. Broke it up into left brain, right brain, and Wide Awake. That was the name of the band here in Austin, I believe. And they were, the story behind them is they were a super popular band in Austin, played the clubs and packed out clubs with huge crowds, played fraternities and sororities too. Just really were making a good living in and around Austin, just being a local working band. And they were recorded by a major label. And it kind of finally came down to a band search, came down to two bands. And oh gosh, it wasn't Lifehouse that they didn't get signed for as a result. I'll think of that other band in a second. I can hear the song in my head, but the names, I should have prepared for this video, but I didn't. Dust Eater Dogs is on here, the Clang Quartet. Matt France, who was an artist, I think he did some writing for HM. He might have even been an intern at one time. The Divine Romance is in here. With Resistance. Very cool. So hard music history focused on P.O.D. and how awesome they were at the time, and how kind of we signed P.O.D. to their first contract. We put them on the Heaven's Metal Hard Music Sampler Volume 1 with the big crown of thorns on it. I got the poster on the wall over here. And David Jennison, one of our writers, he knew how awesome they were, and he handpicked them to be on the sampler for us. And Kemper Crabb, Chris Wigeman, and Greg Tucker. These are two friends who were in pastoral ministry that David Allen, who we brought in as a managing editor and art director in 2003. And I gave him kind of an empty canvas, you know, redesign the magazine, make some changes that you see. And so he did. And one of the things he redid was the columns. And he decided to get these two guys to write a column for him, and they did. I started doing DVDs. I fell in love with the DVD format. It's kind of funny that even that has kind of died out, and people don't buy DVDs anymore. Bono, In Conversation With. I think this is the book where he revealed to the world that Adam Clayton, the bass player, is a believer also now, which speaks volumes of when you hang around, you know, three other guys in close proximity, being in a band, working band together, you see all their warts and faults. And so if you actually converted to their religion, they must have likely walked the walk in front of you, because you had every reason to see why you shouldn't make that step. And so I think just that speaks volumes of the integrity of their lives. Hey Pat, nobody, still talking about you too, in positive ways. Can you believe it? You gotta pray for me, bro. The Altar Boys, Gut Level Music. This is kind of a look at a classic album. Man, it's such a great album. I love that album. We focused on that album in the 25th anniversary issue 5 years later. So anyway, just tons and tons of When Everything Falls by Haste the Day is in here. As I Lay Dying, Shadows Are Security, Stephen Baldwin. He was at GMA week one time, and he was skateboarding with headphones on, and cars, he was just ignoring the traffic behind him, and cars were having to drive really slow behind him because the traffic, he was just taking up the space of a lane. And here is the What So-and-so Says interview with Every Time I Die. And this is a really cool company, OneTruth.com. This is one of my favorite jackets, had this Healing Comes to the Broken Places First graphic on the back. White Cross, 1987, re-recorded. You know, I actually never heard that recording, or at least I don't have it on my phone. I need to check that out and see how the new guitar solo of Reanimate includes Love on the Line. Definitely need to get that. That's one of the first releases on Girder Records, who's still going strong today, releasing stuff on vinyl. Anyway, here's The Kingdom of Fear, written by Tony Shore. We still sell back issues on our website, the hm-press.square.site. And we're selling for the original price of $3.50 each. Fighting Boredom on the Road. And we actually had not a real crossword puzzle. Maybe it is. We used to do giveaways all the time in the mag. And we were selling back issues for $5 each. We're selling them cheaper now. We're selling them for $3.50. Postage has gone up in the last 15 years though. History pointed out some heroes of the scene like Mike Delaney and Mikey Bridges, and the fun time we had at Foundations Forum, and how cool Living Sacrifice was and still is today. History, Why It Matters by Chris Esty. Very cool. And The Kingdom of Fear. I love doing the layouts on feature articles. And Bands on Bands, The Crucified. My Career of MXPX talking about the Crucified. Glenn Kaiser talking about the Crucified. Michael Sweet talking about Switchfoot. My Career of MXPX talking about the Daryl Mansfield Band. How cool is that? Mike Herrera and Glenn Kaiser, both, and Doug Pinnick, all talking about Larry Norman. So this is kind of a cool article for the bands. And here's the emo, metal versus emo article, which was so fun. The History of Christian Metal. Who wrote that? Bruce Fitzhugh. How awesome is that? And Darren Johnson wrote the second part of this article. That's cool. And then Brian Quincy Newcomb did the History of Christian Rock. And I had the cables going around the bottom. But anyway, this is one of my favorite issues of HM ever. Definitely a labor of love. And it's so cool. I'm glad we got to do a perfect bound version of the magazine at least one time during our 28-year history. But that's it. So join the discussion. Let me know which issue you want me to look at next. I think I want to go way back into the first or second year and go through one of those early fanzine style issues of Heaven's Metal. But join the discussion now.